Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Joe Show. I'm your host, Joseph Decker. Has it been an eventful week or what? I think I know my phone's blowing up, obviously, reporting all this news, but I know there's so many conversations going on, so many people talking, so many things going on around the state of Kentucky right now that not everybody knows about. So I thought it would be a good time to get on here and talk a little bit about some of the recent moves, some of the new transfers into the state, some guys who have took their talents back to the state of Kentucky and said, "Hey, man, I'm back. I'm here to stay. I'm ready to make some moves." If the mic sounded a little weird there for a minute, I had to reconnect it. But today should be a fun little episode. Won't be crazy long. Won't be too long of a show. But really excited today to talk about the recent moves, changes, things going on in KHSAA because, to be quite honest with you, this summer was really eventful. I would say this summer compared to the previous summers was really, really, really good. We had a lot of transfer moves. We had a lot of really, really impactful transfer moves who played for their squads this summer and looked amazing and really showed, hey, this is one of the top transfers in the state. This is one you need to focus on. This is one of the top ones. And, a lot of people expected it obviously to slow down a little bit for a while. It's not always full force. You usually get a month or two of a break. But I don't think anybody really expected it to come out of nowhere the day practices start and take off like it has. I certainly didn't. I knew there was movements trying to be made. I knew there was kids thinking about coming back to the state. I knew there was coaches trying to work the phones, which there's always coaches trying to work their phones. There is coaches trying to work their phones and add transfers as we speak right now. You don't have to believe it, but they are, They absolutely are. And that's something crazy to think about is that, these phones are always working. Somebody's always getting a call. It's like, honestly, in the state of Kentucky, every hour there's 2 or 3 coaches on the phone talking about, hey, do you think I can get this kid? Hey, do we have everything to get this kid? Do you think it's possible we can get him to move? And, obviously, I'm not going to talk about all the legal, I guess the word's legal to that. I'm not going to talk about all that, but man, it's definitely exciting to see how, things work nowadays and how the transfer portal really has affected high school basketball, not just in Kentucky, but around the whole country. And it's really hitting Kentucky full force now. And obviously there's a lot of people who hate it. There's a lot of people who think it's the worst thing in the world, but there's also a big group of people that love it, man. And they fight for it. And they love to have it going on right now. There's so many people that are for this. And I've talked to a lot of people, and their biggest reason for why they're for it is it makes the state better. And when the state gets better, more kids go to college. We get more publicity, and more kids get attention around the state of Kentucky. So, I'm not against it. I'm not. Obviously, I want it to be done fair. I don't want, cheating aspects to it. I like for it to try to be done right. And obviously, in this situation, it's not always easy to do that. But I'm all for the state of Kentucky getting better, getting more talent, being more competitive, and just getting some better basketball here. And, the publicity that Kentucky's getting these last few days with the transfer portal, with the new additions has been really popping. Almost all of our Twitter posts about new additions, hearing rumors, the post about Noah Bowl going over 70,000 views. The other one did 60,000. So it's really bringing a lot of publicity and putting a lot of high beams onto this situation and putting a lot of focus onto it. And like I said, there's going to be its what ifs about it. There's a good chance some of these guys don't even get cleared. Some of these guys can't play. There's a lot of guys who transferred this summer who still can't play. So I think we have to look at this as, okay, these moves are happening. These guys are enrolling. These guys are at school. But that doesn't necessarily mean these guys are going to be playing December 1st. It doesn't, and obviously the coaches think it will. But, there's a lot of things that go into it, man, whenever these guys are going after these transfers. It's not all cake and candles. It's not, hey, say you're enrolled here, you're playing. Obviously we know the KHSAA difficulty, the things you have to go through is not simple. But enough of me rambling on. I want to thank our show sponsors for sponsoring today's show. We have our behind-the-scenes guy in Ronald Scott Lindsay, alongside other private donors. We also have Barron Family Farms. That's Brad Barron, a great friend of mine out of the 4th region, who does farming work a little outside of Warren East. We have more descriptions, more details, and more things to know about our sponsors on our social media. We're looking to add a few more, actually. That's why I'm kind of a little behind right now. Got a few I'm trying to add for the next show. We'll probably go live again next week, maybe earlier. It kind of depends on some of the this news that comes out. But big thanks to Brad for always sponsoring the show. Circle S Auto Salvage in Big Clifty, Kentucky. This is their second 5 weeks on the sponsor list. Big fan of them and what they do. They're in Big Clifty, Kentucky. They're an auto salvage store with auto parts. You can contact Jeremy or Daniel at the front desk to get your things done. And once again, just thanks for them for sponsoring the show. Big thanks to my guy, Coach Josh Kays and Sean Horde at H&W Dukes for sponsoring the podcast. They are one of our absolute biggest supporters and biggest fans. They do an amazing job. Huge friends with Coach Josh Kays outside of the podcast. Talk to him almost every day. So big thanks to him for sponsoring the show and all the love they show. They're a top 10 Adidas distributor in the country. They support not just teams around the state of Kentucky, but all over the states. But, man, they do an amazing job in the state of Kentucky, though, is what I'm trying to say. With all these schools, Adidas, the way they support them, the way they get them the top gear, the top shoes, they're always getting them the best things. Their facilities are so nice. I actually toured their H&W Duke store in Campbellsville, and it's beautiful, man. It's a great spot. It's in a cool part of town. The designs are cool. They might even have to end up moving one day. They get so much business, you might have to expand, but they have several other locations around the state of Kentucky. But big thanks to H&W Dukes and Coach Kays for sponsoring the podcast. Grayville Funeral Home, that is WKU superfan, I love to call him, Roy Grayville, out of Edmonson County, Kentucky. Roy Grayville is a massive sports fan. He loves Western Kentucky sports, but he also loves to support us, and I really, really appreciate that. He was one of our very first sponsors, and he has been here with us since over a year and a half now, sponsoring the Joe Show. So I'm a huge fan of what he does. He's a phenomenal person. I love Mr. Roy and appreciate him for sponsoring the show. Again, he is located in Brownsville, Kentucky, his funeral home, right as you exit the Edmonson County Bridge once you have passed the Miss Amigos restaurant. And he does amazing work. When you're in a situation like that, when somebody has passed, you want someone there who can comfort you, someone who can help you, but also get things done affordably. And he checks all the boxes, man. So big thanks to Roy Grayville and Grayville Funeral Home for sponsoring the show. But man, let's get into it. Let's talk about some of these transfers and things going around the state of Kentucky. Yesterday, 2 Twitter posts came up I put out talking about some more kind of things being talked around the state of Kentucky. Had a very good insider, someone who kind of feeds me a lot of information, text me this, and he told me, he said, being told there is a high chance, I'm talking 75% or higher is what I was told, that a 2029, so freshman, 6'11" center will be transferring into the state of Kentucky. And obviously everybody kind of is getting their early ideas, but it will be the 7th region, I was told. So Ballard, St. X, Eastern, Male, Christian Academy, DuPont Manual, Trinity. So there's a lot of schools that could be. Obviously, I know the contender right now and the favorite, but there is a lot of schools it could be. I think a lot of people seeing the recent news that Eastern has been adding, and we'll talk about that here in a second. So a lot of people think, hey, Eastern's trying to get another one. Eastern's landed another one. And it'll be exciting. I think we could see the news dropped as soon as Wednesday, maybe earlier than that. So I think a lot of people's excited to see what's going to be done there. I think a lot of people's excited to see, hey man, who is this 6'11" freshman? Because I know a lot of people, and I can tell you this. Sorry, I had something in my hair. I didn't want to look terrible. I can tell you this. I know a lot of people hear 2029, 6'10", 6'11" big man, and they think Mason Grivna, who is at Ballard. Mason's not going anywhere. Mason's still at Ballard. But this is someone else. This is a new addition. They might not be as great as Mason Grivna. I think we all know how good and talented Mason Grivna is, but there is another addition that's going to be made. So that's one to kind of keep your eyes on. I think it could be a game changer if it goes through, if it happens. There's already been a few game changers happening in the 7th region, not just recently. I know a lot of people are looking at what's happening with Eastern and thinking, man, they're winning the 7th region now. But don't forget some moves that has been happening around the state all summer. St. X now has Jordan Jackson, a high major talent. So don't think just because Eastern's making all these noise, these other teams aren't, kind of doing their thing. They ain't got guys. We know the talent Christian Academy has with Miles Howard, J.J. Washington, Roland Swan, Boogie Cook. Now they add Coach Tim Riley to the mix, a Hall of Fame coach, one of the greatest to ever do it. To say the 7th region is only going to be Easterns now, is only going to be St. X, is not true. I'm not saying those two teams might not win it, because they very well might, but there's a lot of talent up there. And I've talked to some coaches in the 7th region who are watching this happen, and they're not worried. There's teams that's still very comfortable with their squad, and they're not getting worked up about this. For instance, Louisville Male is still super talented, folks. I know there was recently some lists and things that came out that had them at 16 to 20 range, but man, off talent, they're a top 5 talented team in the state. And if everything works well together, if the gears are grinding and everything goes as planned, Louisville Male is a potential state tournament winner. They are a potential state champion with the talent they have. And I know it's crazy to say because they lose Cole Edlin, and a lot of people's thinking, well, how do you lose a guy who averaged over 20 points a game, countless games with 25, 30, and get better? But man, they're just so talented. Nick Curry-Hill is going to be a name to watch this season, and how he's going to jump out and surprise people. Mason Calhoun might be an 8th grader, but he's super talented. Jaden Johnson is a freshman, but he's very talented, and we know Jordan Mitchell and what he can get done. There's a reason he has a case for being the best 2028 in the state of Kentucky. Averaged 15 points last game for Mel as a freshman, and kind of had some games where a lot of people looked back and said he is the best in the state for his class. So I'm not going to come on here and say who's the best in that class. It's extremely loaded. Another kid with the case is his teammate, Trey Hillerich. The big 6'10" center who holds an ETSU offer, actually balling out at camp right now. At Pangos camp. I want to talk about that for a second. A lot of Kentucky athletes and basketball players are currently on the road right now. A lot of them are at Pangos playing. I know Josh Lindsay, Jordan Mitchell, Mason Calhoun, Jeremiah Queen, Mason Grivna, Trey Hillerich. Those guys are up there. There might be a few more I didn't mention, but this is just what I've seen posted. And then a lot of players out of the state of Kentucky are at Paul Biancardi camp. Braxton Keithley, Boogie Cook, Armani Bird, LJ Holman is there. While yes, he is at Hargrave now, he's still a Kentucky-born kid. So I'm going to give LJ some praise here. So there's a lot of talent still in Eastern Kentucky right now. A lot of talent over in the eastern side of the country right now in North Carolina getting work done at Paul Biancardi camp. So I know Kentucky Basketball Club's happy to see 3 of their guys out there performing right now. But there's still a lot of things going on that we have to talk about in the transfer portal. So let's try to work back there for a minute. I'm very, very excited to talk about this one. And I think this one could – I've been told the name. I've been told how the guy is as a player. I've heard a lot of things. And I know, sadly, everybody's like, Joe, don't do that to us. Say it. But I promise it'll be out soon if it goes through. And I promise it'll be worth the wait. But there is a potential, and I'm being told this is legit. I'm being told the kid could be going to school tomorrow and enrolling. But I'm being told the 5th region is going to be adding a 6'10" center who is one of the top. So the state that he is in now, he is one of the top players in the state. Had a phenomenal season, was pretty productive on the AAU circuit, and he is coming to the 5th region. What team? Can't say yet, but I will say this could be the game changer for this squad. This could be the transfer that puts this team over everybody, puts them at number 1. And the 5th region, we already know how talented it is. We already know that. If you look at the 5th region, we have seen some of the recent additions already. I think one team that is still somehow going under people's radar is Caverna, because Caverna got all their transfers and all their work done in June and May. Gavin Lightning, Jalen Crane is still there. The Martin twins are still there. Cortavian Maxey is still there. They bring in Gavin Lightning, a Division I talent. They bring in Jason Graves, who is a 6'8" big man who can stretch the floor, shoot it, rebound, block shots. So obviously, people's going to want to be kind of down on Caverna now. They're going to be like, well, I like Greene County more. I like Adair County more because they're getting recent transfers. We announced Kyle Wade to Greene County. We announced Tylen George to Adair County. They also added Landon Blakey this summer. So obviously people's going to be caught up in some of the recency bias, but I don't want teams to kind of forget how good Caverna is. And I've been to some Caverna practices so far already since the beginning of high school basketball practices, and they look very good. Jalen Crane looks like going into the season is going to be the number 1 ranked player in the 5th region. He looks phenomenal. He's killing it, man. He's got a lot of schools hopefully coming in to see him soon, and he's a Division I basketball talent. There's no debate about that. But right now, They're without the Martin twins for football, Tyson and Kenyon. So once those guys get back in the gym and they're competing against Jason, Gavin, Cortavian, Jalen, those guys, this team is going to be scary, man. They're going to be scary. Don't forget, they upset LaRue last year in the district tournament to punch their ticket in a region when a lot of people expected them to be an early out to LaRue. So don't forget, there's a lot of talent on this Caverna team already before transfers. Now they add a few guys, and I think going into the season, they'll be the number one team going into the season, going into the fifth region. Obviously, things can change in a week, man. One game, everything can change. You can get upset. Caverna plays Fort Knox first game of the season. They can get upset. Now we're talking about them being maybe 5-6. Obviously, that could be an overreaction, but I'm just saying the way things work in this state, we're often kind of quick to jump to assumptions. We're often quick to move teams down leaderboards. We're often quick to forget about teams. So I think looking at this fifth region from a whole, going into the year, I will be honest, I think a lot of people agreed it would be a down year. Obviously, coaches in the fifth region don't want to say it's going to be a down year. You never want to put your region down. You always want to uplift it. But from the talent standpoint, it was weaker this year than it had been. It's the truth. The talent in the fifth region was weaker than it had been in previous years. However, now we're seeing more guys move in. We see Kyway to Greene County. We see Tylen George to Adair County. We see some other potential transfers that could be getting done soon in the following days. And now we're looking at it like, hey, the fifth region is now up to being a top 5 region again in the state of Kentucky, maybe higher. So I think it's going to be ultra competitive. I think when you're looking at the fifth region, the top 4 to 5 teams are very, very, very good. They're very talented teams. Now, there is a little bit of a talent drop off. There are some teams and some players that aren't as good as kind of the top teams, but you know how the fifth region works, man. You can talk to any coach. It is one of the most heavy prone upset regions in the state. So many teams go out early. So many teams lose games to guys they should have no business losing to. So the fifth region is just a really fun region. Coach May Stallworth came on the podcast and said it's the Wild West, and it's definitely looking like that. And I will add on to this. We have talked about the potential 610 transfer coming down and moving to the fifth region, being told it's honestly could be done by tomorrow. So that's a big one to look at. But another one, and once again, no names yet, just giving you guys some information because this hasn't even been posted. Being told there is a Division I out-of-state prospect coming back into Kentucky, and he will be transferring into either the 5th, 6th, or 7th region. So that's something to watch. That's something to watch. That's all I'm going to say is that's something to watch. I know there's some people out there that already know. I know there's some people I know the rumor's already spreading. So I'll let you do your research a little bit. But there is a Division I out-of-state prospect that I've been told is back in the state of Kentucky. And he will be an early, no doubt about it, Mr. Basketball favorite. And has a chance to really turn the squad he's going to up a notch. Now, one player can't do it all. We all know that. One player can't change the whole trajectory of a team. Could definitely impact it, but you can't win the region with one player. You sometimes can't get out of the first round of district with just one player. So be careful with some of these transfers, man. You know, you kind of got to remember just how good this state is. I think a big thing that everybody's talking about right now is, look, when you look at the KHSAA, when you look at the state of Kentucky, and when I say KHSAA, I'm always kind of referring to Kentucky high school basketball. It's just like an easy way to get it out. But when you look at the state of Kentucky this year for talent, it's more spread out than last year. I think most people knew last year it was going to be St. X or Great Crossing. Great Crossing was kind of my pick. I felt confident, but when you looked at how St. X was in the regular season, I mean, obviously you should have expected them to make a big run. They made it to the state tournament, got in a battle with J-Town, but they're just as talented this year, man, if not more talented. So I know Coach Klein is hearing the way people are talking. I know they're hearing the way people are talking. I know the last 2 years have not went at all how they want it to go. So they're going to be playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. This season means a lot to them. So keep an eye out for how things go and how this 7th region kind of pairs out. The 7th region is going to be amazing this year. I think going into the season, I like to say it is definitely the best region in the state. Now, I will slow down because the 11th region is right there. The 11th region is very well debatably better. The 7th and the 11th is 1 and 2.
And I don't think you're going to find anybody in the state that's going to argue that with you. Now, obviously, there's amazing basketball teams spread out throughout the state. For instance, Covington Catholic will battle both of them teams in the 9th region. For instance, Caverna will battle any of those teams in the 5th region. Coach Unseld and Warren Central will gladly battle any of them in the 4th region. So, obviously, there's a lot of talented teams. It's not just in the 7th and 11th. But when you're looking at these preseason rankings, when you're looking at these top teams, when you're looking at where are these Mr. Basketball favorites at, a majority of them are on the 7th and 11th region squads. So, just watch the 7th region, man, and how it's going to pair out. Let's talk about the additions in the 7th region recently that's been announced. There's no doubt you've seen it if you're tuning into the show today. The first one I want to talk to is Noah Bowl. Noah Bowl is a 7'1" center out of Florida. He is a 2027, which means he'll be a junior this season. And I have been told, and it's reported that tomorrow he should be officially enrolled. It should be done. Now, obviously, I know he has been at the school. I know he has been in attendance. I know he has been in the hallways. And Noah Bowl, that's what I have been told. Now, my source that I've got this information from, I've talked to people around also. I didn't want to just get one source. And I've been told he was there. Now, I've been told that he's not officially 100% enrolled yet. So that's why I'm kind of saying, okay. But I've talked to Noah. I've seen things being posted as well that kind of hint that they are there. And when I say they are, I'm talking about Noah Bowl and Jordan Bender. Jordan Bender was announced the same day. 2026 6'8" forward Jordan Bender has enrolled at Louisville Eastern. Jordan Bender has been in the state before. Fern Creek, Ballard. He's bounced around some teams, kind of played with them during the summer, kind of played with them early in the season, then it went on prep, Evangel. So Jordan Bender has enrolled at Louisville Eastern. Bender was a standout performer at Pangos camp earlier in the summer. He had a very productive camp and really stood out to a lot of coaches. He played for Coach Book Richardson in PDI Prep last season where he had some big games. He's been on several D1 visits. He has some Division I offers. He has a big size and frame. Jordan Bender is legit 6'8", really long arms, plays the basketball game the right way. And here's the question. Will Jordan Bender and Noah Bowl be enough to get them as the favorites in the 7th region? They still have a lot of talent over there. They still have Johnny McFarland. They still have Trey Mack. They had one of the biggest transfers. It could be the biggest transfer that happened this summer in the state of Kentucky that's not talked about in Damian Jung, coming from Houston and enrolling at Louisville Eastern. And he had a pretty productive summer with Louisville Eastern. He had a pretty productive summer with Houston Hoops. Damian Jung actually just recently committed Division I to Northeastern. So you add a talent like Damian Jung alongside Noah Bowl, Jordan Bender, you're looking at a starting five of 6'8", 6'10", and 7'1". Trey Mack might be 5'8", 5'9", but he's a very poised playmaker. He's a very smart basketball player. He plays the game the right way. And to a lot of people out there who do rankings, who give their opinions, they think he's one of the top 29s in the state. And I 100% agree with that. So that's a big-time addition for them as well. And Trey Mack, he actually moved in a little bit, I think, during the middle of last season. He was originally in Taylor County. So that's a big addition. And then Johnny McFarland is another name that is kind of gone under a lot of people's radar. He's a big-time athlete. He's a very talented basketball player. I know a lot of people are big fans of his game. So we're looking at a lineup that could be 5'10", 6'5", 6'8", 6'11", 7'1", which would be insane. I seen some people commenting on social media, and it could possibly be the biggest front court we have ever seen. I know Hopkinsville and University Heights and teams out of Western Kentucky had some really tall front courts back in the day. I know they had some really big squads in the 90s, I'd read. So we'll see. We'll see how it ends up. We'll see how things pan out. Obviously, these guys have to get cleared. These guys have to get eligible. They have to be able to play, for us to be making all these assumptions and things. So right now we know that Jordan Bender and Noah Bowl should be cleared, should be officially enrolled by tomorrow, I've been told, by parental guardians, by legal guardians, by people around the program. Tomorrow should be that day. Once again, Jordan Bender and Noah Bowl. Those are two big-time ones, man. They are certainly game changers for Eastern when you put them alongside the talent they already have. So it's a big one to watch. That's one we all have to see how it pans out. We've seen things like this happen before in the state. So this isn't a crazy surprise. One I want to talk about next is Kai Wade. So Kai Wade has kind of been happening for a while now. They wanted to keep it Things didn't really want to be announced yet, and I always respect that. A lot of people see me putting out all this transfer news, seeing me post these things, but you won't see me post a transfer. You won't see me put something out unless I get a green light from either the player or their parent. So that's why I kind of waited, took my time a little bit. Kai's parental guardian got a hold of me, his father, and told me kind of, hey, let's put this tweet out. So 2026 6-foot guard Kai Wade has moved and enrolled at Greene County. Kai Wade averaged 16.7 assists and 4 steals last year at Orange High School in North Carolina. Believe those are official stats. That's what I was sent. And I've heard about him from some people around the Greene County program, some people that's watched him play. They say he's very unselfish. He's a willing playmaker. He plays the right way, and he's a very good defender. Obviously, you see 4 steals. You can see, well, is he playing anybody good? But I've been told that, yes, he has played a lot of talent, that he has competed against very good basketball players. I know he has spent time with Team Loaded in the past, so that's something good to look at, that he has competed against guys like that. So just kind of looking at the team right now, Greene County, you're looking at Kai Wade, you're looking at Eric James Jr., Modi Kuyate. That's a very good big three. And obviously, I know Modi Kuyate has been talked about a lot around the state recently for will he get eligible. I think that's something we're going to see soon, but they still have a guy named Deacon James who's going to make a big impact on their team. They have a lot of young guys. I think they got a pretty big sophomore class. So that's going to be one to watch a little bit, but Greene County is going to be very good this year, man. I know they had heard a lot of the smoke in the 5th region as well. Other teams getting hyped up, other teams getting some love, maybe Greene County falling down some people's rankings. But they wanted to answer back with that, man, and they wanted to kind of give their own opinion. And they bring in a point guard like Kai Wade, and you never know, man. Things might not be done. There's a lot of time for this 5th region to keep adding guys. So we're going to see how it pans out. But Kai Wade is big time, man. And he really impacts this 5th region. Let's stay in the 5th region, man. Tylen George. A lot of people know Tylen George. He's one of the top players in the state of Kentucky. He averaged over 27 points a game last year for University Heights. He had multiple big-time performances. I believe, actually, he averaged 31.5 points per game last year. I believe he had a almost 50-point performance, or he had a 50-point game. I can't remember. I know he did, but he had a big game this summer on the next pro circuit for Puma where he had 45 points for We All Can Go. So he's a willing scorer. He's impressed a lot of Division I schools around the country. He holds a Division I offer from Tennessee State. So going into the 5th region, he's immediately one of the top, if not the top players in the region. That's a debate for another episode. But you pair him alongside Dawson Gilbert and Landon Blakey, it really gives Adair County a solid core to try to three-peat. Adair County has won the 5th region the last 2 years. We knew, obviously, Coach Daron Breeze stepped down this year, and then Jordan Bringers was hired. Then Jordan Bringers stepped away, and now Daron Breeze is back as the interim head coach for the season. So it's definitely going to be fun. Coach Breeze isn't going out here to coach just to coach a team. He's going to have his guys. He's going to have a good squad. He's going to be competing to win the 5th region no matter what. He doesn't like losing, and he doesn't like not having talent. We know that. We know Coach Breeze. And he's a fireball, man. He's an energy guy, and he's going to get Adair County back excited. If they make it to state, they're going to have the whole daggum crowd there. And Adair County is going to be one of the top teams in the state again this year. Now, obviously, there's some things they have to fix. They got to coach the guys. They have to coach the guys. Everything has to blend. Thing has to work. But when you're looking off the potential this team can have, they have a chance to be one of the top 1, 2, or 3 teams in the region. So that's going to be very exciting to see. I'm excited to see kind of how Tylen George rolls. Kind of adjust into things, playing more of a point guard role, being more of a playmaker, getting the guys involved too. I think if he is able to accept that, maybe not average 30, maybe average 22, 23, 7 or 8 assists a game. Now you're looking at being a Mr. Basketball favorite, one of the top players in the state, and really playing an efficient brand of basketball. If he's able to do that, get the guys involved, they have a lot of talent over there in Columbia. Adair County could easily come out of the 5th. They really could. So obviously there's a lot of what ifs in every conversation about Kentucky high school basketball. Obviously, if someone doesn't get hurt, if this goes right, if this pans out right. So obviously there's going to be a bunch of what ifs in every conversation we have. But if things go right in Adair County, I wouldn't be shocked to see Coach Breeze and Adair back at Rupp Arena for the 3rd year in a row. I wouldn't, man. And I know last year they went out a little early to Bowling Green, who ended up making that really, really, really long state championship run to play Great Crossing that a lot of people didn't expect. But I know they want to get back. I know Coach Breeze doesn't just coach to coach. He wants to win. So I'm excited to see how that pans out. This is a new one. Not going to say names or schools, but in the third region. I'm being told a 6'4" guard, a talented 6'4" guard, not a Division I talent, but a talented 6'4" guard who's going to make an impact is transferring into the third region. Now, what school will he go to? That'll be announced. I'm being told hopefully it'll be ready to be posted and announced by Wednesday. But let's look at the third region a little bit. It's kind of top heavy. When you ask somebody about the third region, they're going to say Grayson County and Davis County. We've seen them match up in the region championship last year, and they bring back all their kind of core pieces, key pieces. So everybody's kind of counting on them two to match up again. Everybody's ready to see who's better. But we've seen Meade County have a productive summer. We've seen Owensboro Catholic look very good despite losing Coach Tim Riley. Coach Tabor Shadowman doing a great job over there. They have Jermel Carruthers, who's one of the most underrated talents in the third region and in the state in general. Sully Smith, I can't remember his first name, but Bradley, really good shooter. So they got talent over there at Owensboro Catholic. They still do. Apollo is going to be an interesting team to watch with size. They added a transfer that I've actually not talked about yet. He's a 6'3" guard named Carlos Cruz. He comes from Puerto Rico. I've heard nothing but good things. I've heard he's a true pass-first, all-around point guard who plays the game the right way. I know he'll be playing for Kentucky Basketball Club this AAU season. Like I said, I've heard nothing but good things. I've heard, obviously, I've heard with him going to Apollo, being beside Tate Powers, Landon Henning, and the other talent they have, they could for sure be a top 5 team in the region, which just makes the third even more competitive. Because a lot of times going into this summer, watching teams, I would say the third region was down this year, kind of similar to the fifth. They lost a lot of talent, and it looked like there was 2 teams that were going to kind of run it. But now seeing how Catholic played this summer, seeing the additions to Apollo, seeing how a team like Edmonson County actually looked, recently went to their practice, they have talent. Seeing how Ohio County always plays hard. They add Emmanuel Suarez from Puerto Rico, who's a 6'3" guard. So now the region is kind of looking like that top 7 to 8 is really strong and competitive. And the third, similar to the fifth, anybody can come out any night. So I think that's another one to watch, the third region. That's why I have on there new face in the third. But 2 big recent transfers that happened not too long from now, kind of more past the June era. I guess we could say the first period of transfer. Emmanuel Suarez to Ohio County, 6'3" guard. Got to see him play at our Next Up Recruits camp. Shifty, moves well, got some good size, confident shot. He's a good player, man. He has a chance to put Ohio County into that top 3 to 4 debate in the region. And then Carlos Cruz to Apollo, another 6'3" guard from Puerto Rico, who's a talented true point guard. I believe he played for the official Puerto Rican team this summer, so we got to play with them. But I've heard nothing but good things about the player, man. I've heard that he's a phenomenal kid. I've heard that he's a really good player, and he has a chance to, like I said about Ohio County and adding Emmanuel Suarez, he could put Apollo into that third best team in the region conversation that a lot of people's trying to figure out right now, because we know Grayson and Davis has the most talent. We know they're going to be the favorites. They're probably going to have the best record statistical seasons, but who can kind of go in there and upset them one night? Who can go in there and catch them off sides in region? Who can go in there and prove, hey, look, we're a top 25 team in the state of Kentucky too. We're really talented. Give us some respect as well. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch. But back to the 6'4" out-of-state player coming into the third region. I've heard good things. Not heard he's a Division I talent, heard he's an elite game changer, but I heard he's got a chance to fill a lot of the things that this team needs, a lot of things that they're looking to fill and kind of finish off their squad. So I think it'll be interesting to see. Don't forget, the most impactful transfer in the third region might have already been done since May, and that's Jagger Martis to Grayson County. So we'll see. Michael Acton's at Davis County as well. Don't forget about that. That's another big one we have to watch for. Don't sleep on Meade County with Hayden Schaus, Aiden Medley, and Cam House. They have a chance to be really good. They had some times this summer where they looked like a top 25 team in the state. So just watch the third region a little bit. You know, like I said, by Wednesday, we could have more reports on this out-of-state transfer coming in, 6'4" guard. So that's something to watch, man. But the third region has definitely been kind of busy in the transfer portal this summer. I don't think there's any debate about that. We talked about the Division I basketball player possibly coming back into the state of Kentucky. I'm being told he is already here. We got to cover that a little bit. We talked about the fifth region. We talked about the new additions in the seventh region. And we talked about some possible new faces in the third. So the transfer portal, man, is back in full force. Like we said at the start of the show, you either love it or hate it. So we'll see how it goes. I know a lot of people's kind of expecting more teams to get involved. Here's one that has not been reported, has not been posted, has not been talked about at all. I'm not going to say names because I was asked by the coach not to say anything. But a 6'8" out of state transfer is coming into the 13th region. 6'8" big guy, solid athletically, good all around player. He's coming into the state of Kentucky and he's going into the 13th region. When you look at the 13th region, it's considered, again, another down year. Harlan County lost a lot of talent that made them very well. We know how good Reese Davidson and North Laurel is this year. We've seen the run they made in the state tournament last year, getting them a game over Breathitt and then battling Montgomery County. But we know how good North Laurel is, obviously having preseason Mr. Basketball favorite in Reese Davidson, Liberty commit. So that's a team to watch. South Laurel lost some pieces, but we know they're going to be competitive. But the team, and we know Corbin lost Ryder Atkins, which is a huge loss for them, man. But Williamsburg has a new coach and Coach Brandon Bargo. They could be a fun team to watch. But like I said, there's just a lot of teams in the 13th region that lost kids to transfers. And I know that's a sad one. Grayson Burton, who was one of the top players in the 13th region, left Knox Central to go to Madison Central. And we've seen, obviously, Maddox Huff no longer in Harlan County. However, Trent Cole and Reggie Cottrell is still debatably the best backcourt in the 13th region. So that's a fun one to watch. But a sleeper team that I'm obviously going to talk about now is Bell County. Coach Sizemore and his squad, they got some big wins last year during the season that didn't really get talked about or get a lot of love. They battled it in the they actually went out early in the region to South Laurel. But South Laurel, obviously, with Jordan Mabe and their talented squad. The team last year at Bell County was kind of young. They showed really, really, really good flashes. They went 26-7. So like I said, though, but the team was relatively young. They didn't have a lot of seniors. They might have had two. I know they had one, but they might have had two. But like I said, they were a relatively young team. Led by their best player in Ethan Buell, who's a very, very talented prospect, man. If you've not seen Ethan Buell yet, he's legit 6'6", shoots it really well. He's more of a 2-3. He's a really fun player to watch. I'm a big fan of him. So they have a lot of talent over there still. Braxton Ferguson is a freshman this year. He's going to be playing with Midwest basketball this summer. He's an underrated name to watch out for. But like I said, the 13th region is going to kind of be talked about early as North Laurel's to lose. But I think there's still a lot of talent in that 13th region that can make things fun. Like I said, I really like Bell County. Harlan County is not going to, after their last 2 years of success, they're not going to try to slow down at all. But that's two things I want to watch. Brandon Perkins in the chat. What's up, man? He's talking about Johan Pratt to South Warren. Yeah, that was one that was kind of more done during the summer. I think that's one to watch. Obviously, leaving Warren Central to go to South Warren, so a big district transfer, going there to get more playing time, more opportunities. He had some good moments this summer, so he's going to be one that could honestly really help them. I think if we're talking 4th region, South Warren has a chance to be one of those teams that competes. I think a lot of people around the Bowling Green area I've talked to thinks Warren Central is number 1 and then Clinton County. But a lot of people think that next spot is South Warren. And obviously South Warren, they've never beaten Bowling Green in basketball since they've been a school, which is something crazy to think about. But a lot of people think this is the year. A lot of people think this is the year. And obviously Bowling Green is a little more down this year. They graduated basically their whole team last year that played big time minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust and what they do. But it's a big opportunity for South Warren to make some noise this year and get things done under Coach Q and see what he can do for them. Coach Quarles, he's a very good coach. They got a lot of talent. Not just saying this because Brandon commented, but I'm a big Junior Perkins fan on the basketball floor, watching him play last year. So Junior Perkins, Owen Shively, Jackson Decker, Johan Pratt. There's several other guys on that team that's talented. I know Halo has moved back there and he's playing there. So South Warren has a chance to be one of the top teams in the 4th region. And like you said, Johan Pratt going there kind of more toward the middle of the summer. That's a big time addition that could be that could add a lot of fuel to the fire that was already kind of going on at South Warren and them having this breakout season. So let's see how that pans out a little bit. Like I said, we're looking at 4 to 5 more transfers possibly being announced this week. That is a 2029 6'11 going into the 7th region, a 6'4 out of state going into the 3rd region, a transfer, possibly 2 coming into the 5th region, one of them being a 6'10 center, one of them possibly being a Division I basketball talent. And then you never know what's going to happen. I kind of teased a little bit the 6'8 big man going into the 13th region. Not sure when that one will be released, just because I don't know when they want it out. But what I'm trying to say, man, is that things aren't going anywhere. This week's not going to slow down anymore compared to last week. But it's going to be hard to beat last week, man. Some of these news drops, like especially Friday, it's going to be hard to beat that. But a lot of things going on around the state of Kentucky right now. The transfer portal is popping. Things are going down. Like I said, don't forget just how many transfers there has been. Obviously, there's a lot right now, and you're going to want to show recency biases to those teams. But there has been transfers happening since April, since the end of the state tournament. There's a lot of teams that kind of loaded up early, like Caverna, like Grayson County getting their transfer in Jagger Martis early. Davis County getting their guys in Michael Acton, Randolph. So there's a lot in Lamonte Radcliffe. So a lot of these teams loaded up early. A lot of these teams got their transfers. They got their guys earlier into the season. It didn't just happen recently. In the transfer portal, I guess you could say there's probably 3 or 4 stages of the portal now. But those were some big time transfers that happened in June, in July, late May when school ended. Kids said, hey, school's over. Let's go ahead and go and enroll. So transfer portal has been crazy. It's only going to get crazier. I'm already excited to see how next year's will be. I could see it being even crazier. Don't forget, we lost a lot of talent in Kentucky this year. Jaden Johnson, Cole Edlin, Davier White, Ferlandez Wright, LJ Holman. There's a lot of kids that left the state of Kentucky to play at prep school, to play out of state. So it's seeing teams get more guys and seeing more talent come into the state. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun to see, just because we lost so much talent early. But I will say this, man, I don't know when I'm going to drop my top 25 teams and things and such yet. Obviously, it's going to be soon. Obviously, with the Cat Paws doing theirs, with some other social media outlets giving their opinions, it'll probably be soon. But it's going to be a fun year in the state, man. I think I say it every episode, but the all-around talent that we have in the state of Kentucky right now is very solid. And I think there's a lot of teams in Kentucky that have a case to win it all this year. I think last year, like I said, it was St. X or Great Crossing. I think this year we could have as many as, well, obviously you're going to have 16 teams there because of the regions, but I think there is truly 15 teams that could have a debate of winning the state tournament. I think we could. There's going to be front runners. Everybody knows St. X right now is kind of the team to beat. When you talk to coaches around the state, they're all saying it's St. X's to lose. They're the most talented teams. But there's a lot of teams out there, man, that are very, very, very talented. They're well coached and they're ready to compete too. And they hear all this outside noise. So I appreciate everybody tuning into the show today, man. I wanted to talk about some of the transfer news going around, some of the things we posted and put out there and provided for you all. It's been a very busy last 5 months during this off season. I know a lot of people's been patiently waiting for the season to get started. We just started practice 4 days ago, official practices. So the state, like I said, is kind of heating back up right now. We're kind of getting excited, so if you want to see more news, if you want to see more transfers announced this week and things going around, follow Next Up Recruits and Joseph Decker 23 on Twitter. You'll be seeing it posted and announced there. We've put out a lot this summer, man. So you might be tired of seeing us, but we got more coming out for you all. So get ready to see what we have announced next. But once again, man, I appreciate everybody tuning into the show today and listening to me talk. No guest today. Wasn't nothing really crazy topics, but we just kind of talked about the portal and what's going on, new additions, things like that. Is Louisville Eastern the new #1 team in the state of Kentucky? A lot of people saying that, man, with their additions, but we'll see how it goes. Remember, guys got to get eligible. Things have to work out. People could leave again. You never know how things work. So we'll see how things go. But yeah, appreciate everybody for tuning into the show tonight. If you'd be interested in joining our sponsor group to sponsor your business around thousands of viewers around the state of Kentucky, we'd love to have you on here, man. Contact me via my number or social media. I'll get back to you and let's make it happen. But big thanks to everybody who tuned into the show today. Big time episode again. A lot of people tuned in. It was more of a midday episode. I know a lot of people was at church, out with family, things like that, with it being a Sunday. It's football day too, obviously, because it's Sunday. But big thanks to everybody who tuned into the show today. We'll see you next week, and everybody be good. Everybody enjoy their week. Everybody get ready to see some more transfer news. And to all those basketball players and athletes this week going into it, stay safe. God bless. Thanks, everybody, tuning in.